Hello everyone, it's Marie from Skeletorama again. Welcome back to my channel. Give it a hashiv. So we're back for part 2, I guess. I can't do anything in less than 7 hours in a mini series and a whatever. But anyways, hope you enjoy the rest of making the chair. All right, so we've got these here, and these are drying pretty good. They're drying good enough they're not going to move on us, which is the cool part. But now we come to the reason why we waited to do this part, because I want to see how opaque or not opaque this particular fabric is, because I like it the best. So we've got this one, and what I really kind of wanted to do was have the chair back something like this, well, without the little pieces of thread coming off. Let's fix those. Watch, it'll all come unraveled. Okay, so having this as our chair back to make sure, okay, am I going to be able to see this through? If the light shines on it, is it going to look, you know, transparent? And it actually looks fairly opaque, so we might be okay. And since this is from the same one but is not quite as ornate, this can kind of go on the back. But we again need to make sure that if we cover it in this, we're not going to be able to see a bunch of stuff, and we kind of can on here. But man, that would look really good, wouldn't it? I may go for it anyway. To heck with it, because this is like perfect. It's got flowers on it. It's got jewel business going on. I kind of want to use this. So I think I will. Why not? Okay. I'm sure 3/4 of the way through the chair we'll find out why not. But, you know, the other option was going to be this one. We can look at it anyway. Because this also has some designs in it that would look really cool if you lined your seat up so that it was doing, say, that part of it. See how nice and opaque that is? You don't see anything through that. And then this one here, would have been the slightly more difficult one. I mean, there are some places where, like this right here could be the back of the seat. Either way, with these fabrics, we're going to have to be paying attention. That should work out well, to where things are going to land, right? So that would have looked cool too. And then it could have had maybe, now see this, that's too see-through. I was going to say it could have had this on the side, but no, it can't really. Could have had something like, you know, this could have lined up here for I don't know. This one seems like too much pain. So I think we will go, let's go with this one. This was my first one that I wanted, so we'll go with this one. Okay, so just like with everything else, we're going to cover all this stuff in a very specific order. So let's go ahead and set all the interior parts aside along with those. This is going to be the tricky one to cover with this, but I think we can do it. Okay, so we're going to have to figure out how we kind of want stuff. And so we're going to do the back first. Okay, so the back, we're going to come around this way. We're going to come over this and to the sides. And this is why we're going to have to make it fairly neat and clean, because we're going to put this on the other side with a hem, which should cover up, you know, seeing the fabric underneath, but I don't know, we'll see. And we are going to use a secret weapon in this. 2 things, really, because if you try to cover it and use this, you're probably going to get very angry very quickly. So we're just not going there. Now we're going to use the 3-in-1 or Fabri-Tac or Fabri-Fix along with score tape. So what we'll do is, like on the interior part here, I'm going to put, I'll probably use 1/8" score tape. And I'm going to put it right along this edge here, right along the edge at the bottom, but I'm going to have enough room so that I can do score tape and then glue, because that's going to give me a much more secure hold. The score tape will be like the grab now, right? Just like a hot glue would. And then your 3-in-1 will grab, and it'll be very secure. Problem with 3-in-1 is that it goes through fabric really easily, and then with this fabric it's going to discolor it immediately, and we definitely don't want that if we can avoid it. Putting score tape onto this is just an exercise in futility, so we're going to go straight 3-in-1 with that. But this will give us our top and our bottom, and this is the part that you want to look really nice, because there's not going to be anything else covering this top here, so I might want to make sure it looks really good. Okay, so I think for the back, it would be nice to aim one of these large flowers here, like so. And then we'll have it coming around. So we got to make sure we leave us enough room to grab it down here, enough room to come across up here. So let's see. Is there one I can do without wasting a ton of material is my question. And the answer is no. Okay, fine. Fine, be that way. So we'll kind of line this up here. We're going to go ahead and cut this a bit. This isn't going to necessarily be our final size of it, but I just do want to make it a little more manageable. The nice thing about this fabric too is that it is quite flexible. So it'll be easy to manipulate around the different curves and stuff. If you can cut it apart. There we go. Same on this side. Okay, so here we go. So now, like I said, we're going to take the score tape and I'm going to apply it right here. This is also going to be kind of my barrier to keep this stuff from creeping back and soaking into the fabric also, because it can. And it goes around curves really nicely. And it doesn't matter if it gets wrinkled, because as soon as you pull the liner paper off, you just flatten it out. Okay, so kind of push this down really good. Push this down really good. Okay, so let's get our fabric kind of lined up, I think, first. What we're going to do is we're going to attach it to the top and the bottom, and then I'll trim this side up a little bit more. But we definitely want it straight here. And then you just pull your liner paper off. Make sure again that we're nice and straight. And then stick this down. And once this is stuck down, we can lift this up. Actually, let's open this first, because this is stuck on here pretty good. Okay. So now we can lift this up. We can put a bead of it about here, nice wide bead, because we want to hold this all down really, really well. But see how it's soaking through the fabric and turning it darker right there? We just want to make sure we don't do it on this surface here that you can see. Okay. So now we will flip it up. We're going to pull our fabric just kind of taut. You don't want to go crazy with it. We're going to do the same thing here. Trick is getting the liner paper off of the score tape. There we go. Okay, so we've got that. We know we're going to go down a little bit here, so let's go ahead and put some of this here. And bring it over and make sure that you don't get glue on your fingers and then touch the back of that fabric. Okay, so it's going to come pull in here a little bit on these corners. It's fine, that's what you want. And then with this, just kind of wiggle it around until, if you do have some of these kind of folds or pleats to it, just make sure they can smooth down really good. Okay, so we got that there. We're going to press on the bottom part again. And then once you get this down initially, you can kind of go back and add a little bit more if you feel you need it. Okay, so there we go. So that's that part. So this part we've got way more than we need. So now we can go ahead and trim this up a little bit. You want about a 1/4 inch-ish, between 1/4 and 1/2 inch. You want just enough to pull around, but not enough to make it super obvious under your other layer, if that makes sense. You want to remove bulk when you can too. and I'm keeping that scrap. Okay. All right, and so for this, we're just going to use straight Fabri-Tac on it. So I'm going to do my bottom part up first. Bring this over and hold it down and make sure it sets real good. Again, it can sometimes be frustrating working with the cotton batting just because it likes to absorb the stuff you put on it, which kind of is its job, I guess, but you may have to glue it twice, which it looks like I will, because it did a great job of absorbing all of my damn Fabri-Tac stuff. And there's going to be a lot of stop and start and holding stuff down to make sure that it sticks. And it doesn't help when you get the stuff on your fingers, it sticks to your fingers and pulls away. Okay. And so we're going to do the same along the side and along here and here. And then we'll tack this part down once we've got this shaped the way we want it. And one thing that does kind of help a little bit, if you find it soaking in too much like that, is just kind of give it a second after you've put it down. I put a nice big thick bead of it a little bit away from the edge, because again, I don't want it to soak around that way because you'll see it. And then that allows it to start kind of drying a little bit, becomes a little tackier. See? It grabs a bit better. And once you get it kind of down, just sort of try not to mess with it too much. And if you notice, it also keeps it from bleeding through the fabric as much. So we're going to keep coming around here. And this part's all going to be covered up anyway, but you do still want it there so it'll look nice and neat. Okay, so when we get on this inner part here, we're going to do the same thing. Make sure your glue is only going on the inside, which is the opposite of what I literally just did. Love it. Okay. On the inside, and then you want to pull this nice and tight against this right here. You want to make that into a corner, basically, so it's nice and sharp. Hopefully you can see that, because my mirroring software is being a jerk again, because that's just what it does. Okay, so we got this pressed down. Again, we're going to have this piece in front of this, so it shouldn't be much of a big deal, but we still kind of want to make it look nice, right? Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing to this side here. Okay, so we've got it more or less centered. Still looks cool. Did what I could with it. With this stuff, and especially with this type of material, it's very important to keep your hands clean. So see how I got all this glue on there? So I'm just going to rub my hands together real good, and that usually gets most of it off. But spend a little time getting the glue off your hands. Trust me, you'll be better off for it later, because sometimes, you know, your glue might not seep through, but it'll pull some of the glue from your hand and stick it to the outside, which is just gross. It really is. But anyways, so we're going to move on to the sides here in just a second. I think that's looking good. It's a little wrinkly here, but again, we're going to have something in front of it, so I'm not terribly worried. What I'm worried most about was this surface and these corners here. Okay, we'll scoot that there. Okay, so now we're ready to work on the sides. And for the sides, I think we might want to kind of continue to bring this over if we can. So let's look at this piece. This, we might be able to pull it off with that. Let's check this one. Okay, I think we've got enough for two sides on this one, which is fine. So with this one, let's go ahead and cut it about as high as we're going to need it. So I'll go up a little extra. big scissors here. And we're going to want to square this off a bit. Because this is the one that we're going to need to make a hem in. So we're going to have to fold this over and make a hem, and then that hem is going to come along this edge and tidy that edge up, okay? So the way we're going to do that is with score tape. So with that, we're going to use a little bit thicker. We're going to go ahead and use the 1/4 inch, I believe this is. Some random fuzz stuck to it all over the place. So what we're going to do is we're going to do our hem for whichever side, you know, and we'll deal with that side first instead of trying to save time and do both hems at the same time. That's not going to help us any. Okay, so I'm going to put this here. This way I've got a nice straight line. Go ahead and snip that off. Got a sequin stuck to it. Okay. All right, so we've got our hem here. I'm going to come along with my smallest scissors. Got so many scissors over here. And I'm going to cut along this outside edge. I want this hem to be fairly even just because the fabric is somewhat sheer. So if it's not even, it's going to see it. You'll be able to see through it. Still may be able to. We'll just, you know, position it in a dramatic way then so people can't see it. Okay, so we've got this here, pressed down real good. The nice thing too is this fabric, as you can see here, it frays. You just got to look at it the wrong way and it's going to start fraying. That's the nature of the fabric. All Sari fabric does that. This will hold that fraying in check as well, which is helpful. Okay, so now we've got this pulled off and we're going to use this and we're going to roll right along that to make our hem. That way you've also got a nice even hem and it's nice and straight. Easy, 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 right? Except for the part down there where we didn't have the tape. And you know what? I'm just going to take a piece of tape and I'm going to put it there because that's going to drive me nuts. Even though it's going to be glued down in about 3 seconds, you know, still. There we go, that's better. Pick up that sequin. Okay, so we got a nice little hem here. So now this hem is going to go along this back edge so that when we're done and we've glued down everything, we're going to have a nice finished edge to this. So now with this, of course, if we put Fabri-Tac stuff on it, it's going to bleed over in there. So we really kind of don't want to use that. So what we're going to do is we're going to put some more score tape on here. We're going to use the score tape in combination with some dots of, you can use super glue or you can use craft glue. I'll probably use craft glue. See if that'll work. It may not work. I may mess it up, but that's okay because I break things all the time. And then this video will get deleted and you'll see another one where I miraculously don't screw anything up. Yay, editing. All right, let's get this pressed down. Now, we also could use little dots of this, but the way this is doing the whole volcano thing, I don't really trust it right now. So here is our tape coming off. And then you can take your glue, and I've lost it. I swear my glue go. There it is. And you can do little dots of it, and so it's kind of like a tag team effort, right? Whatever the tape doesn't grab, this will grab more permanently, and it'll grab the tape. And this won't soak through your fabric like the other stuff tends to. Okay? So what I do is we want to line it up with the edge so it looks nice and pretty. We want to match this piece here. Right? And so it looks like it's a continual pattern all the way around. See that? And how it comes across there? Going to match that. We can go ahead and stick that down. Doesn't really matter. Okay, and this, we're going to bring this down and around to the inside. Okay? So it makes this nice kind of corner, and that's the benefit of having the double-sided tape as well, because you can just pull it nice and straight, and then we can worry about getting the rest of it to match up, right? So now we can go ahead and go along here with our scissors. We're going to give ourselves lots and lots of room on this one. So I'm like, what, about a 1/2 inch-ish. Now we don't want to do too much room, so we don't accidentally make it where we can't put it on this side, and oh, just barely. Yeah, Jesus. I always remember that crap like halfway through. Okay, so now we have it here. We've got it pressed down really well. So we're gonna go ahead and pull it, I think, towards the front. And we can do the same sort of thing where we put our score tape. I think I'll do that. So use 1/8 inch. I'm just gonna put it on the cardboard, you know, for the foam core. Has a little extra place for it to grab while we're lining it up. This is not going to be the only thing holding it, because I don't trust it to be the only thing to hold it. And we'll go to about there and come back around and do here. Okay. There we go. So see, I've got along the kind of the leading edge here. And I've put it up into there because we're going to want to pull this stuff around a bit more anyway, right? Okay, so what we want to do is we want to do this part straight first to the front. Actually, no. We want to hold off because I was supposed to do the front first, wasn't I? Jesus. Okay, where's my other one? Where'd you go? There you are. Is this big enough? Yeah, more or less. Okay. So this one we're just going to cut kind of small. Because luckily these pieces will hide a lot of the sins here on the side. Yay! All right, so I'm going to do it so that this part is along the bottom here. So same thing. I think this one I'll use the 1/4 inch on. Put along that side there. We're going to put along this top side here. So if anything, it's holding that part nice and straight. Whee. All right. So first we're going to take our tape off the bottom. Make sure you burnish it down real good, or it's really hard to get the backing paper off of it. There we go. Okay, so this one, I want that to be there, as straight as I can. See, this fabric's trying to fold up on me. Stop it. There we go. That's better. And then we'll come around. We'll take the tape off of this. God knows. Okay, so we got that there, and then we're going to go ahead and glue this part down. This part doesn't matter if we've got a whole bunch, because again, we're going to have a cushion sitting on it. And it'll come up kind of against the walls here on this corner part, which is fine. Can't see whether my glue's coming out. Okay, there we go. Now we can go back to doing this part. Okay, so this is going to line up here and it's going to come around here. Oops. Don't pull too hard or you'll pull it off of where you had it. Okay, so we're going to do, I think, this part here first. That off of there. And on this one, I think I'm going to use a little bit of this just because I need some extra staying power, but I don't think I can put that Fabri-Tac stuff on it without it soaking in because it's a little too close to it. Over here, I'm just going to trim that little corner piece a little bit, get it out of the way. And then we can do the bottom part. And again, I'm gonna, actually I'm gonna angle that a little bit. I wanna make sure it gets covered up with the trim that's gonna come down because otherwise it's gonna look like complete crap. Okay. And then we can put it under here. Yeah, let's put the other glue on top of the glue as a top. That's ever gonna work. Bloody hell. All right. Okay, so I'm gonna sit here and hold this part until it sets. I'll be back with you guys in a minute to show you how to go around the other arm. Put some glue under here while I'm at it. So now this part is the trickier part. This is the part you really want to take your time with. So one of the things you're going to want to do is you're going to want to cut and remove some bulk. First of all, we're definitely removing this corner piece of bulk right here. You're going to want to cut some slits, and you don't want to cut it all the way to the edge here because of course you're going over these, right? So cut it to about where once it rolls over, it gives you more room there, right? And you don't want too many, but you don't want too few. It's kind of hard to tell sometimes. And then with this part, we're going to bring stuff over and we're just going to take our time, right? And you can start at the top, you can start at the bottom, doesn't really matter. But you want to bring it over and then flatten it down. And it's usually easiest to do by each little basically tab that you've created, right? Just bring it over individually like so, and it's going to follow your curve really nice. Since we're using double-sided tape and tacky glue to hold this little seam thing on, don't pull too much because you'll pull it right off of it, okay? So we're going to go ahead and remove our tape. It'll help us a little. It's not going to help us a ton, right? Because it's going to get covered up with folded stuff pretty quick, but God knows, I hate when this stuff does that. There we go. All right. So we're just going to go around the whole thing. Okay, and I'm going to switch over to the tacky glue just because this tends to get so saturated that it starts sticking to your hand. So every time you push it down, you get it to start to stick, and it won't stick because then it sticks to your finger and that pulls it up. Plus my 3-in-1 really needs to be thinned out with some acetone because it's doing that volcano thing. So if I leave it open for a second, it just, so we'll go with this and see how we go. I'm just doing basically each little piece of this separately. and kind of trying to hold it down for a bit. That seems to work the best, especially when you start getting into corners like this. Okay, and see, that did what I was talking about, where it kind of absorbs all of the glue into itself and doesn't want to stick right. So you just need to get this where it'll stick down just enough, and it'll take. And sometimes, you know, if you just kind of let it sit to the side a bit, it'll dry and grab where it can grab, and then you can go take care of the parts that didn't grab, like this part under here, which is being very difficult. But you will end up covered in a bunch of glue. It's just how it goes, no matter what glue you use. Okay, so we are just going to kind of let this sit for a bit, but see, we have our side done. We have the nice hem here. Make sure to go back and press this down, because, you know, everything's still kind of drying. Okay, we got the nice hem here. We got this piece that refuses to stick down. If you have a piece that refuses, then you make it with a clamp. So we're gonna let this dry for a bit, and then I will tackle the other side. And then once I've got that other side done, you don't need to watch me go through that headache again. Then I will come back to you and we'll do the parts that make this look much prettier. So now I've finished covering the other side, and it has this cool little jewel in it. And it came out a little more lined up than this, kind of goes up a little bit at the end. So I think we know which side of the table it's going to be on. But so we've got this all covered. This is the hardest part. These two sides are the hardest part of this whole thing. So now that that part's done, we're going to set this aside here. Here, we'll put it where this glare is. Cover up that glare for a few minutes. And then we're going to work on these parts. And then we will do the covering bits last, because I like to save those until after I've put the interior ones in, so I don't accidentally, you know, not give myself enough room or something. All right, so let's go ahead and do them kind of in order they're going to go in. So the first in will be the back, then the bottom seat, and then the two sides. So the back is the only one that we want to do anything kind of fancy-ish on as far as where it's going to land. So if we want to do the one with the jewel in it, which I think would be cool, the other thing to remember is we're going to have this down here. We're going to have this seat in front of it. So we want to make sure the jewel's up high enough for it to still be seen once we get everything in there, right? So let us do that, shall we? I think if we go here, we have to give ourselves enough room to overlap here, but I think that'll be high enough once we get the seat in there. So this looks pretty good. Go ahead and flip it over, which I'm sure I'll lose my place once I do, but at least I can kind of center it there. And fabric everywhere. Okay, let's go ahead and give ourselves a good bit of room around this. Better to have it, not need it, than need it and not have it. Going around and around and around and around. Okay, there we go. All right, so here is our piece, and it's going to come around like this. So what we're going to want to do is the same sort of thing we did last time. So I'm going to use a 1/4 inch score tape on this, so it can act as, you know, kind of a little barrier between the Fabri-Tac, or this is actually working fairly well, so I'll probably stick with this because my Fabri-Tac is not behaving. So we'll just do it the top and the bottom first here. And then once we get this on, then we'll place this so we can put it over the fabric, of course, that we're going to fold up. Otherwise it doesn't do us much good. Okay, I'm going to put this on here. With this piece, the most important edge is going to be this top edge here, because this is the one you're going to see. This will be kind of hidden by the sides. This will definitely be hidden by the bottom. So this is the part we want to make sure looks really good. So let's go ahead and take a few minutes to kind of line our stuff up. Make sure we've given ourselves enough room here, and we have. And line this up. Okay, you know what, let's go ahead and do the bottom one first. Why not? Because then we can kind of stretch around if we need to. Okay, so same thing. I'm going to take this bottom part off here. We're going to fold it up. Okay, that's going to give us our right now. And then we take this and put it underneath all of this mess here. This has a lot of strings going on. Okay, and this is going to give us our more permanent hold. So between the two of them, we should be good. And again, I'm going to bring it up to the top and pull it around. But before we do that, we're going to make sure one more time, is it lined up? It looks pretty centered. All right. So let's pull this backing off. God, this stuff is so annoying. It's hard enough just to get the backing off, but yeah, if it's not exactly stuck down, it likes to fight you. And there we go. All right, so got that there. And we're gonna pull this top part straight, and then we're gonna kind of ease it over so that when we're done, we don't have any really obvious folds or wrinkles in our fabric up here at this top edge. We can have it down here all day. Who cares? Nobody's gonna be really seeing that. Actually, I'm gonna cut a little bit off of this just to make it easier when I go to fold this other part in. Same with this side here. Okay. And we're gonna put some glue under this part. And then we're gonna pull this down so that we know this is nice and stuck. A little extra under the thicker part, sort of hold that down. Again, when we look at our back, see, it's nice and curved. There's no real obvious wrinkles. There's nothing seeping through the fabric on the other side. Same with this. You want to kind of miter your corners off a bit, just because you don't want the bulk from them to interfere with stuff. And here on this side, we've got plenty of fabric, so we can actually just take a bit off before we miter that corner. Okay. I love that. How do I even do that? I don't even know. Okay. So same thing here. We're going to take our score tape and we're going to go right up the side, right next to the edge. This is going to be our first line of defense. And same with this side. Here. Like so. And we're going to do exactly the same. You want to pull on it, but you don't want to pull on it too much because you don't want to start pulling things over and distorting what you have on the front if you've got a pattern. If you have just straight fabric, it won't really hurt it. All right. So once again, we're going to take this. We're going to kind of push our corners down. Sort of pull those over first because they're always the most problematic, you know. So it stays folded down. All right, so we got on the side. Take our little scissors. We're going to remove some of that bulk because we really don't need it. Just make sure you don't go too far and go into your corner because then you will have a problem. And some more glue here. Bring this down. This fabric is thin enough that this glue soaks right into it. The sheer stuff. And do the same on this side. Okay, and there's our back. See how fast that was? So now this is going to sit right back in here. And we're going to have to kind of wiggle it a bit, mainly because I've got a little bit of bulk right here with this piece, which I'll probably cut, see if I can cut some of it down, but there we go. So there's the back. So let's go ahead and get our 3-in-1. and get our back on here. So it's going to start looking even more like a chair. Yay! And so I'm not going to put a ton because it can still come back around and soak in. We definitely don't want that. We don't want it too high up to the edge up there. I'm going to give it a little second here. I'm going to go ahead and put this side in first just because I know that's where most of the bulk issue is. And then we're going to press this back. And so what I'm going to do is jump in here. I'm going to grab some clamps. I just kind of want to clamp this because I want to make sure this is nice and secure. And we are going to do the bottom part anyway. Really? Oh, I hate these things. I mean, they're great little clips, but they're also the most infuriating things ever. Okay, so there we go. So we're going to let that press down. We'll stitch you back up here, and we'll work on the chair pad, which just has fluff all over it. All right, so I don't think there's enough. No, that wouldn't work anyway. Can you imagine sitting on that? Yeah, no, thank you. All right, let's see. That doesn't have anything interesting. I don't know that we want to use that, do we? Let's see what we have on this side. Not enough room, that's what we have. And we didn't want to use that. Don't want to use that. So yeah, I think we might use this part here. All right, so same sort of a thing. We're going to make sure we've got plenty because we can always remove it, especially when you're talking about going around this part because you're going to need a little more than you think just because you have to go up the side and then over the top. All right, so I think we got a good piece right here. It's not going to line perfectly, but we don't expect it to really. Okay, so we have our leading edge here. That's coming unglued. That's all right. Won't for long. Okay, so we're going to do the same sort of a thing. We're going to do the front and the back. This is the edge that we want to make sure looks really nice. Okay. So I'm going to put that out of the way so we don't have fibers everywhere. I'm going to put some score tape on this front side. And on this back side. I'm going to press them down really good. We're going to bring this over here. We're going to decide kind of which way do we want it. Do we want it this way? Maybe this way will be nice. Yeah, that way we're keeping some of that flower. Make sure you're going to have enough material to go over. Okay. All right, so we definitely don't want it that way. We want it this way. All right. Does that look good? That looks good, I think. All right. Make sure this is going to have enough to go over, and it does. All right, so first, I'm going to pull the tape on the front. Get us a little more over. There we go. And bring this front side around. Tack it down with that. And then with some glue. And again, you don't have to worry so much about this bottom part, only because it's going to be glued into there. And then before we do our sides, we're just going to double check and make sure that they're not going to be too big, right? Because we can adjust them now. We can't adjust them once we get our fabric on them. It's a lot harder. All right, so front side, and could you just, you got one job. Piece of crap. All right, there we go. Love-hate relationship with score tape. Okay, bringing that one around. Same thing. See how there's just these strings are everywhere. You cannot help it. It's like lame. Lame is pretty fabric, but it's just hellish to work with. Hellish. All right. So we got the front, we got the back. Now, when we go to do these, first thing we're going to do is we're going to remove some bulk from our corners. So we're going to miter our corners out. That's the easiest place to get extra bulk out of there. Same with this one. And this one. So see, I've cut it at a bit of an angle, and this I'm actually going to remove a little bit of the fabric because we don't quite need that much. All right. So with this, you just again want to make sure you got your front side here. You want to make sure this stays very pretty. So when you bring this stuff over, you can do it like you're doing a package and kind of fold it and bring it up and over in whatever way you need to keep that nice and flat. So this one we're just going to glue since we're practically there and it's looking kind of okay. Okay. And you just kind of keep working at it and pulling it and tweaking it until it looks good and sticks. That's also a rather important part. So I mean, you can even take these parts and glue them down to the side. That helps sometimes. Takes a few minutes for it to stick though, so put a little bit of glue here for when we bring this up. And then a bunch of glue here. Bring this over and just hold it down. Hope for the best. Again, be real careful that you're not getting glue on, say, your thumb here. I have glue on this side, but not on the other side. You don't want to be sticking glue onto your pretty surface. Okay, once it starts to grab, that's where you can go to your spots that aren't grabbing very good and hit those again. Some extra glue. So again, this is our front right here with the purple. So that's the part we want to make look really good. If you find that glue's just not doing it, that's when you can go with a combination of the two. Like I said, this stuff likes to get in there and kind of saturate it, and then it doesn't want to hold it down very good. Again, it doesn't want to comply willingly. You force it. And this will give it a chance to really hold it down. And hopefully the, clamps won't stick to it too much. They do that sometimes. It's really annoying too. We really want these corners to stick down before we go sticking it in the chair. Okay, we'll leave that to dry for a few minutes and I will be right back with you. Okay, so that should be dry enough for now. We just needed it to have a little bit of help holding those corners down. All right, so there is our cushion. And this is the front part of our cushion. And we can actually take these off too. We definitely want to do that before it starts kind of putting dents in your stuff, right? Okay, so now this is going to fit in here, like so. And let's see, I think we need to remove a little bit more bulk on this just because it's not looking like it should in the front. All right. So there we go. All right, same with this one. Take a little bit off of that corner. It'll be just fine in there. And we are going to put our 3-in-1 on the bottom. You want to put a nice thick layer, but don't put it too close to any of the edges because the last thing you want for it to do is to go smushing up and soaking into fabric. So here we are. We have our chair bottom and we will push it in there. So we're getting there. So now all we need are these side pieces. Now I'm going to hold these next to it and you can see that when we turn it this way, it's going to kind of, it's not quite meeting up with it. As soon as we put fabric on, of course, it's going to make it larger, right? So what we're going to do is we're just going to trim a little bit off of this front leading part here. I think that part's good. Or actually, no, we'll do it off of the back. All right. So we're going to set this aside here. And where's my larger scissors? So I'm going to take just about, I want to say, 1/8 of an inch off the back in a straight line, in theory, which is absolutely not doing. Because why would it do that? I'm cutting in a freaking straight line. Okay, there we go. That's a little bit better. And so let's go ahead and test fit this here. This is good. I am going to round this here slightly just because this part's rounded. Okay, so there we go. So that, see how that blends in a little bit better. But if you were to try to just trim a bit off of this, you're going to get this out of whack. You want to leave this the same because this, you're going to change the angle and everything. So always take off that back straight edge. We're going to do the same with this one. Well, let's measure it first, shall we? That might be smart. And again, see, we've got it sticking over. So since we don't want that, we're going to take about 1/8 of an inch off the back. And it did seem to cut straighter when I cut with the back up, so there we go. That's a little bit better. All right, so let's hold this up here. And that is better. This one I'm going to shave just a tiny bit off the bottom as well. That's how much I took off of there, just that tiny sliver. And we will hold it up here. Okay, and see, that's much better that way. So to make sure we get the same curve, I'm just going to put this right next to this one and line them up, and I'm going to cut here. That way I don't have to worry about them being uneven. Okay? So now we just need to get our fabric on the sides, which we're just going to use the main bulk of the fabric here. And we're going to try to kind of avoid any of the, you know, the big flower type things and stuff like that. So we'll go ahead and cut it out here for this one. Giving ourselves a decent amount of room. Okay. And then we're going to turn this over like so. And we're going to do the same kind of thing. So since our back is the largest part, we'll go ahead and do that first. Why not? Take this off the fabric to do that because I will get stuck to it. So we'll do that part there. Probably tack down this part here. Okay. So put that there. Gonna go ahead and make sure we've got plenty of room for everything. We'll cut it down again here in a minute. Pull that off and bring our fabric up and over. Okay. And then we can put a little bit of glue underneath here. These aren't usually the sides that you have to wrestle with. It's always this one here. Likes to be a headache. All right, so there's that. Now that we have it like this, we can kind of go around and trim it down a bit. Because we're going to do the same thing we did on the last one. We're going to cut those notches in so we can ease it around. Cut this down a bit. I'm going to go ahead and miter this corner. And we're going to miter this corner, especially that part with the little flower bit because it's a little bit bulky. Okay, so now that we've got everything kind of mitered down, let's go ahead and do this side here. And let's miter this corner. And we'll go ahead and use some of the tape for this. Get the small scissors so that way if we've got bits like this where they hang over, we can just trim that off. Okay, that's actually staying nice the way it is. Okay, so for this, we're going to do the same where we do the little notches. We're going to do it nice and slowly. You definitely want one, anytime you got an angle like that, you want one that's aiming right at that corner. Okay, so this I think we'll just glue. And let's start here. So I'm going to put a little glue down to get that part. We'll grab our first little tab of it, put some glue down, and bring it over. And then work our way up. Gonna let that sit there and dry a little bit, kind of set up, or you know, we're gonna touch it and we're gonna move one piece of it, just annoying as hell. All right, so now I'm gonna do the other piece. And then I will come right back to you. All right, so we've got both of these covered now, and they look pretty good. So now we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna put them in here with the 3-in-1. I am going to clamp these ones most likely because they do like to try to escape. So you can do the same sort of thing. Again, be very careful that you're not getting this on an area that's going to squish out and soak the rest of your fabric. You know, pay close attention to kind of the edges, right? So we're going to take this. We're going to slide this in here and get it positioned where it lives, and then we are going to clamp it. Don't worry if that sticks up a little bit because the edge things that we're going to do will take care of that. So I'm going to do that to both sides here. So we are going to leave that to dry for a bit. All we have left are our 2 strips that we need to get covered so that we can use it to cover that. In order to do that, we are definitely using score tape. So I'm going to go ahead and cover the front and the back of this with score tape first. So as soon as that is dry enough where I take the clamps off, we will then measure these, because I haven't measured them against that yet, and we'll cover them and get them on there. Okay, so we could probably take these off now, because we're going to need to measure our decorative pieces there. Oh, there we go. These put away. Okay, so now these pieces here, they're going to go down to the very bottom of your chair. It's going to come along here, form along here, and go to the very back. Okay, so we're going to cut this right about here. And then we'll save ourselves the time. We're just going to measure this against this one. Okay, so what to use to cover this. Now, we have our fabric here where we can find a spot that's not too ornate and cover it. Although I did kind of have an idea, I don't know if these would work though, is to do something like this. but I don't think, yeah, that's too green for sure. This one matched the tone a little bit more, but it still doesn't look right because it doesn't go with it, which is kind of what I figured was going to happen. So, okay. I was trying to do the easy one, but so far our chair's looking pretty good. Just these joins right here are the ones that look like crap, but we're going to take care of that. So we have our fabric. We're going to flip it that way. We'll do these one at a time so we can find a good spot that's just fairly clear. You know, we don't need a bunch of sequins and stuff on it. We just need kind of plain, but I don't think I have any plain of that color. And I don't, so that's what we're gonna have to do. See, we have this piece too. Oh, here we go. This is a good spot right here. That way we don't have as much of the sequins and things to contend with. So we have score tape on both sides. So we're just going to take this off here. We're going to stick it right down in the center of this. Boom. Flip it over, get it nice and stuck. We're not going to have really room to do glue as far as sticking our material to it. So we're going to take the small scissors because we do want to go fairly close. So ideally, we are going to have the fabric come around and meet in the center. So since it's 1/4 of an inch, I'm going to go about 1/8 of an inch. That part looks a little short, but we'll see how that works. All right. Okay, so there's our first one. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our score tape off. So it's nice and sticky. We're just going to pull these around like so, as best we can on both sides. And then the ends we're just going to leave because they're going to be done slightly differently. So we don't need to like try to fold them over. That would be a headache and a half, wouldn't it? Okay. So there we go. I've got this nice and stuck down. And so now this, what we're going to do is we're going to put so that this is straight with this. And this part here is going to glue down to the bottom of our chair. And then we're going to bring it up and around and hold it real good, and then we'll do something different when we get up to the top. Okay, so with this I'm going to use the Fabri-Tac just because it is the stronger of the two. So the first part I'm going to do is this bottom part here. We're just going to kind of hold that down for a second, bring this up. We're going to put this very carefully on our piece here. So just about the top, not quite the top. And then we're going to bring it down. We're going to hold it against this. And we're definitely going to hold that for a few minutes while it dries. Let's see if I can get my top back on the Fabri-Tac here real quick. And we do have a part that's trying to come out. Get it tucked back in there. And that's the hard part. So I'll go a little bit wider on the fabric on the other one because this stuff's escaping over the side. There we go. And this is in a place that makes it very difficult to try to actually clamp it down. So and we'll bring this up. And so what we're going to do on this is we're going to trim it down a little bit. We're going to take this, we'll use the white glue for this, I think. And we're going to tuck this kind of under. You want all of its little edges under. That's the tricky part. We'll get some more fabric tack on here. Not too much. And then we'll just kind of wiggle it to here. But as you can see, it looks a lot better now because it's hiding the joins and all that kind of stuff, and it gives it a lot more finished of a look. So I'm going to keep holding on to this and making sure all those little bits that are trying to get out get kind of tucked back in. And then once it is dry and secure and good, then we will do the next one. So I will come back to you once that part's done. So I did cut it a little tiny bit longer, and as you can see, it did come out a little bit cleaner. It was easier to get, you know, where these little bits aren't trying to get out. So that was my fault on the first one, but that's okay. It still looks good. So we're almost done. We've just got a couple more steps to do. So our next step is going to be covering the bottom, which is probably one of the easiest ones. So we just need a little square of fabric. God knows I got enough little squares of fabric. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this where it's square on two sides to save myself some time here. And we're going to lay this on here. We want it just slightly smaller than the bottom of the chair, because we're just kind of covering stuff up. And we're going to drop the chair because why not? That's just what I do. And this looks not square to me. It's probably not. Who knows with me, honestly. Okay. So, how was that? Oh, Lord. Okay. So let's go ahead and square this up for realsies this time. It's going to be a lot smaller than the bottom, which I might have to do another one. Jesus H. All right, so this is, oh, that's fine. That'll work just fine. So we're just going to take our glue and we're going to put it all over the bottom of this. Well, this is where I am deviating from the way that Ara does it. Not because I don't agree with the way she does it, but because I'm using different feet. I have decided on the feet that I'm going to use. So what she normally does at this stage is this is where she's going to put holes in it to accommodate her chair legs. So as soon as I get this glued down a little bit better than it is now, which won't be hard because it's not glued down very well at all right now. You got to get the edges real good. There we go. This is where these needle bottles come in handy, you know, when freaking glue is working. Because you can just get right under the little bits that need it. All right, there we go. So we'll let this sit and dry here. And I can show you on my other chair where that part was. Okay, so here, normally you would have poked holes for your chair legs, and then you would have covered it, and then you would have poked the holes back in through the fabric so it's nice and clean and neat. So these I did the same way she did. I used dowels and I kind of made them smaller. On mine, however, my dowels that I used were probably a little small for it, which is why the legs look kind of odd for this. They sort of don't match because they're just little weeny legs. So clearly I've got dowels. I could have done that with these, but we're not going to do that. We are instead going to use one of my favorite things to use as chair legs, especially on fancy chairs, and that is box feet. So these are designed to go on, you know, if you make a jewelry box or something like that. Y'all should recognize these from the couch that I did. I put these on the vampire couch as well. I got a pack of, I think, like 10 or 12 of them or something. So I have 4 of them here. And so when we do chair legs like this, we are going to use E6000 on them, because you need something that's got a lot stronger of a bond than even the 3-in-1 Fabri-Tac type stuff. And these are metal, so you're going metal to whatever. I prefer to use E6000 in the little tubes. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our E6000 and we're going to put some on the bottom surface here, This is the main place it's going to hold it. And I want to put a good amount. And I am going to put a little bit on this inside part right here. You can see here on this inside edge, because it is going to be contacting the outside of the chair. And we can just start putting them on, and you're going to line it up with the square part of the chair and make sure it's contacting real good on both. And with these, you know, definitely take your time because these 6000 takes a few minutes to set. And I am just not having luck with that. So let's just take that off there. There we go. So I'm going to kind of hold each one until it grabs pretty good. I did already check and make sure that yes, I can fit both of them on there on the side. I was kind of worried about that. Cool thing is it's also giving it a nice decorative trim as well. So that's pretty good. So I'll move on to the next one. And then once they're all on there, I'm going to kind of sit it up. So I want to make sure that they dry on there straight, because otherwise you go to set it up and then it'll be wobbly in perpetuum. Nobody needs that. So we'll do this back one too. Same sort of thing. The nice thing is you can put a nice liberal amount of the E6000 on there, and you don't have to worry about, like, if there's any small gaps or whatever, it'll kind of fill those in for you. Just try to make sure you don't have it squishing out the top. That's the part you really don't want. And then usually when you go to flip it over to stand it for the first time, at least one of them is going to fall off, because that's just how it does. Just to be difficult. And then once you do stand it up, you know, you don't want to move it around too much, because again, you don't want to knock these out of whack, because once this stuff dries, it dries pretty strong. So same thing, put it on here, make sure it's nice and on the corner, that I haven't knocked that out of whack like I just did. And then we've got one more. And yeah, don't be a complete idiot and put it on the underside. Wow, that was great. I haven't done that one in a while. Okay, let's put it on the right side this time, shall we? God knows. Okay, there we go. That's better. I thought I was having quite a bit of extra room to glue onto. Wow. Okay. The name is Dumas. And if you've ever seen that A&W commercial, you'll get that one. Okay, so there we go. So we've got on here, and this one's nice and extra sticky on the underside. Okay, and let's turn it over. Kind of sit it down, make sure everything's going to be good. Nope. We're going to have to leave these like it was. Ah. Okay. Get you back on the corner. You're back on the corner. You're back on the corner. All right. So sometimes when you go to stand it up like that, yeah, if you just glued it down and it's not secure enough yet, it gets really upset about that. So we're just going to kind of prop it up here so it's not putting any pressure on these. And we're going to let these sit, and we're going to let these set up. And then I'm just going to kind of keep an eye on them to make sure they haven't like sagged and started falling. Because you really can't tape this, right? And then once they are dry and set up, I will come back and show you the finished product, because we are done now. So see you guys in a bit. Okay, so we are back, and we have our chair. And so let me hold this up so you can see the finished end product. So as you can see with the legs on here this way, it really kind of finishes it off. And I was kind of worried because it was so ornate and over the top and everything. But actually, once you put these legs on here, it really balances it out. Because if I'd tried to put, you know, little spindly legs like on this chair, it would have looked absolutely absurd. So there are a couple different ways we could have finished it. Like I said, I always like the box feet for the ornate stuff. We could have built a box at the bottom of it and then done the pleated fabrics. You can use like the fringe trim. There's a whole bunch of different ways you can do it, but I think this came out really cool. So let me hold it up. So again, here we have it next to the chair. This is in correct scale. This is from Ara's original pattern from Bentley House Minis, from her video, which I will definitely be linking below, because like I said, it's a really good, solid video. So you can change it. Let me go grab the other one that I did, the variation one. Let's see, I'm still worried about this not quite being quite dry yet, so I don't want to take any chances. There we go. And yeah, I'm going to flip it over. Like a moron. Come on. How about that? Okay, so this one here from the Mad Scientist Mansion, I even did the, I can't remember what the hell that's called right now, but I did that, where you post, so it looks like there's buttons in there. This is the same pattern. All I did was I changed the back, because if we look at the back, it's the same, right? So I just changed it. I removed these, cut them off about here, added the more rolled handle to it. But the construction of this is almost exactly the same as this. And this was a pattern I found on the internet that I then kind of altered it. So once you get this down, you can do all kinds of things with it. And so I think we're going to do a chair kind of similar to this for the other side of the table as well. And that'll be a fun one, because I was debating, should I just make another chair and not take you guys along for the ride? Or should I drag you into my chair nightmare? You know, one of the two, but I think I might, because I want to show you how easy it is to alter those patterns, and you can do whatever you want with it. It is a really, really good pattern. So anyways, here's our chair. So why don't I scoot these over a bit? I'm going to bring our table in on our garden path here. Okay, so again, if we had, say, this chair here and this chair here, they're looking a little small. See if I turn this like this, maybe it's helpful for you. See, it looks a little small. This one really looks a little small, as I have my hand in the way so you really can't see. Okay, see, it doesn't quite fit right with the scale of the table. But this one does. See, that looks correct with this table. Get these out of the way, bring it kind of a little more central. See? So it's standing up about the same size of the table. And when we sit it here, it fits better because it's the same width. It's not looking like you have a bunch of kids' chairs at the table, right? So here's chair number one. We just need another similar chair to go here, and then we'll start on the chairs back here. So yeah, that's that. Now, as to when I'm going to get it done, that I'm not sure, because we are moving. So the bummer part of that is it's going to be really next to impossible for me to do anything for the next few weeks as we do that. But the cool thing is that I will have a much larger space, and I'm going to set up an area specifically so that when I do the addition for the Allison Jr. for the Mad Scientist dollhouse, I can film that. I can show you, here's how you put one of these additions together. Here's how you hook it on. Here's how you do the wallpaper. Here's how you do whatever, right? So I'll be able to do that. And I have a whole nother dollhouse kit for one of the Real Good Toys Painted Lady dollhouses. It's massive. And I would really love to do that from beginning to end. Now, I will tell you, if I do it from beginning to end, as far as putting it together and, you know, sanding and painting and all that stuff, I will film the entire process first, and then I'll put the videos out because I don't want to be like everybody else, like I said before, where they got the process started and then partway through and to hell with this. So definitely don't want to do that. But at any rate, so I hope you guys enjoyed that. Again, the links to Ara's video will be down below. And so we're starting to get there a little bit, just a tiny bit. But I'll bring this back up nice and close again so y'all can see. Plus I need to make sure my feet aren't going to go anywhere. They're on there pretty good. So see, it looks pretty cool. I will also leave links to a couple of great sources on Etsy to get Sari fabric, where you can either get the sheer stuff, you can get the lurex, you can get all kinds of stuff. There's two people mostly, I believe it's Designs by Gloria and AmourFabriQues. So if you like Sari fabric, it's a great place to get it. And yeah, so there we go. So hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you had a wonderful Hogmanay or New Year's or whatever you celebrate. I did absolutely nothing, which is my favorite thing to do, so I had a great time. And I will see you guys in the next one. Piano safe. Bye.